There's a car pull up next to me and they're looking at me like I'm an idiot, because I am an idiot, because I'm sitting here in the car talking to myself on the phone. Hi everyone, I had a somewhat fun little topic to discuss, especially for anyone who follows me who is a writer or creative of any sort. I have a condition called aphantasia. Now, I didn't realise fully that I had this until just somewhat recently, like in the last few years. I kind of thought my experience was normal. Let me explain a little bit about that. I'll link a video that I found that was when I sort of discovered that maybe it wasn't quite as normal as I thought it was, down in the comments section or the description box down below. It's basically, how's the best to word this? I don't see pictures. And I never really thought that anyone else saw pictures too. I thought the whole, imagine yourself on a beach just meant that you lay there with your eyes closed in blackness, pretending that you thought you might have been near a beach. And that sounds weird to anyone who has vivid mental images, but I just don't. I don't see anything. I can close my eyes and nothing. I can try and picture a star and I get nothing at all. I see black and I see the back of my eyes, and it doesn't matter how hard I try and picture things in my head. I can't make shapes. I can't make images appear. And the idea that some people can is just so crazy to me. And I know that that seems crazy to anyone who does do that and does see that way, but I don't. And it was kind of revolutionary in some ways to go, that's not normal. That's not what everyone else sees. And after learning about that and seeing this video that I'll link, there was a few other things that then started to circulate the internet about not being able to hear things, obviously internally, so you don't have an internal voice. Now, I do, but I don't at the same time. It's hard to explain exactly what it's like. It's obviously I don't hear anything auditory, but I do hear or feel or perceive a voice in a way that I don't with pictures. And I get that with characters as well. They come through with my voice, but distinct at the same time. So I can tell if I see a scene when I'm writing, it's more that I'm hearing the characters describing what happens. And I think you can see this quite clearly in my books, this lack of an internal picture as such, because that's the one area that I know I'm weak on, is descriptions. So when my characters are in a room, occasionally I will fill out the details and describe the room. More often than not, I do that after I've written the first draft and I go back and, edit it and do a bit of a mini rewrite sort of thing, because I completely skip over that in the first bit, because I don't see the room that they're in. I don't see the characters. I get a sensation of the characters and I get what they're saying and what they're doing, almost fed to me in an audio description sort of way. If you've ever turned on the audio descriptive feature on a movie or anything and they tell you, there are two people in a room and they're doing this, it almost comes through in that sort of way to me as I'm writing the stories about these people. And it kind of struck me as weird, as some people would actually see the two people sitting in the room and talking to each other, and they might not hear the audio that's being said or the dialogue that's being said. They kind of have to infer that based on how the characters are acting. And it's just, I don't know, this is probably just a silly little video that won't make sense to most people, especially anyone who doesn't write or doesn't do anything creative, because you're probably sitting there going you hear voices that aren't your own and you think that's normal. That sounds psycho. And I know it does. It's not like I would imagine how that would feel, of having different personalities, because I know that is a completely different experience. This is more, I know that they're not actually there. I know that they're not telling me to do anything, other than the one little one that I mentioned in a different video about the depression, if I post that. This is more, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a weird sensation. It's something I haven't had for a while, and it's part of the reason I haven't been writing. I've missed my characters. It's almost like I sort of tried to bend them to the certain way that I wanted to do things. So they went, well, screw you, bitch, we're fucking off out of here. And I'm like, okay, can you come back though? Like, some of you at least come back. And hopefully they will one day. I can't say I've ever had a character come in quite as strongly as Declan, which is probably the reason why he's got so many books and the reason why he seemed to take over Phoebe's books a bit. And even with the latest book that I've written sort of in another spin-off series that follows Brock and his love interest Brooke, Declan comes into that quite strongly too. Even though I didn't necessarily want him to, he just turned up and said, hi, I'm taking over. And that's what he does in all the books. And he was probably the one that I said, look, you need to back off. You need to leave us alone. I need to have this time with these other characters. And then all the characters went and disappeared. So I think he's probably told them all to pack up their things and go because he's having a huff somewhere. Oh God, I sound certifiably insane, don't I? What more do you say? I don't see things, I hear things. Some people don't hear things, but they see things. I would imagine that there's probably people in the middle that don't see or hear either, and there's probably people that do both. And I can't even imagine how rich and creative their lives must be, being able to sit and imagine and have the full, audio and visual sensation of being somewhere else, or, being able to imagine those sorts of things. It's just something that doesn't make sense to my brain because I haven't been able to experience that. It's funny too, because I know one of the criticisms people have had of my books in the past is that my characters have too much internal voice and they think to themselves a lot more than they necessarily speak. And I would agree with that. But my question also is, don't you have a lot of voice in your head? Apparently some people don't. And they don't think to themselves about every single instance of conversation. They don't have the conversations with themselves before they speak the words out loud. And it's just, that world seems foreign to me because for me, everything is filtered 3 layers deep before anything comes out of my mouth, which is ridiculous considering how much crap still comes out of my mouth. But I have this constant narrator and constant narration, I guess I should say. This constant narration of what's going on around me, this constant thought of all the things that I've got to remember and all the things I've got to worry about and all the things that might happen and could happen and conversations and what might happen if I say certain things and what the other person might say to me. And this is just a constant noise in my head all the time. And I just think, do people not have that? How do you function if you don't have that? How do you know what to worry about? And I guess the question probably is that they don't worry about stuff as much as I do. It probably is why I have the anxieties that I have and why I have the depression that I have and all those things that feed into who I am as a person. A lot of it probably comes from this internal voice that's constantly talking to me. Even now, as I'm recording this, I've got all these voices of, oh, people aren't going to care about this. People aren't going to want to listen to this. People don't want to do this. People do want to do this. Why don't you do this instead? Or why don't you do that instead? Or what about this instead? And it's, like I said, it's a constant noise. It's a constant thought. Tell me, people who don't have it, do you have even like a little bit of it? Do you have something that substitutes it? If you get pictures instead of voices and you don't have the auditory sort of sensations, you have the visual sensations. Do you see pictures of what you need to be worried about? Or do you just not worry? Or do you have anxiety and don't have the internal voices? How does that work? I would really, really love to hear what people have to say about their different experiences with this thing, because it's just fascinating to me that we're all human. We're all fundamentally the same type of cells and organisms and life, and everything fundamentally is so similar between us, at least on a molecular level. But we can all experience the world so differently, and not through the external factors like the systematic racism or like sexism or any of those sorts of external things that are on us, but just internally we all experience the way the world works so differently. And that's just, I don't know, isn't that fascinating to anyone else? Am I the only one that's just like blown away by the fact that we can all have such different experiences within our own brains? Like this, and I guess realistically everything we experience ever is only within our own brains, because without our brains feeding us the impulses and the particular electronic paths and stuff that make us feel and look and touch. We wouldn't be looking and feeling and touching. I don't know, it starts to get to existential crisis when you start to go into that depth, because, you know, what is life? What is the meaning of anything if we're nothing more than a few impulses of electricity that happened by random chance? I don't know, it's just amazing. It's amazing, and it's different, and it's unique. And yeah, I'll put my hand up and I'll say, I am Michelle. I have aphantasia. I don't know what to do about that. I will keep writing whenever I can, with the characters just talking to me, and I'll keep trying to add descriptions to explain the way that I see them or the way that I see the rooms that they're in. But just know that even if I'm describing something, I'm not actually seeing it. I'm just describing what the characters are describing to me, because everything's black. Close my eyes and there's nothing. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say nothing. Sometimes there's red when you close your eyes and the sun's still out and it's bright. Then it's red instead of black. But other than that, there's nothing. I think that's pretty much all I have to say on this topic. Hopefully it's an interesting video. I will talk to you all later. Bye.